This is going to be your guide for receiving another Solgaleo or Lunala in your Pokemon Sun or Moon versions, and it's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is become the champion of the Alola region and then head back to the respective altar of your game. There you will see a portal. If you cannot interact with it, it is not the correct time because you need to arrive there at night in real life or whatever time your DS is set to, so it pretty much has to be the opposite time of whatever your game is. If you're playing Moon version, it has to be daylight out, and if you're playing Sun version, it has to be nighttime out, and then you can go into another world via this portal. After that, you want to fly over to Route 16 and then head to the lake. It's actually pretty simple. You go through the flower field, you make a right, and then you just kind of walk up until you get into a cutscene. Also, you can Taurus charge through all of this and even find the TM Psyshock if you go to the right at the beginning of the room. So after that, you will be able to interact with a Solgaleo or Lunala in some kind of crazy dimensional time warp. I don't even know what's going on in this cutscene. Either way, at the end of it, you are going to end up with a Cosmog, and as remember from the storyline, it goes Cosmog, Cosmoem, and then Solgaleo or Lunala, depending on what game you played, and that is going to be via level up. Now, I do recommend that all you have to do is register 50 Pokemon in your Pokedex and then go speak to Kukui at the Professor's Lab. There, he will give you a lucky egg, which boosts the experience gain of any Pokemon that is holding it, so give it to Cosmog and then start cranking out battles in the Elite Four. Now, at level 43, Cosmog will evolve into Cosmoem, and at level 53, it will evolve into the legendary Pokemon for your game. Now, here's the problem, that even though the time has switched around and you are in a different world, you are not in a different game, that you're not going to get any of the other games' exclusive Pokemon. So if you have Moon version, this Cosmog will evolve into Lunala, even if you are in the other world where you received Cosmog, and even if you go back to the original cartridge of your game. And it also takes about 2 runs through the Alola Region Championship to be able to get enough levels and experience to level up into your legendary Pokemon. So now here's where things start getting interesting because you have 2 legendary Pokemon, so that's pretty much free trade bait for anything that another person wants with the other copy of the game. So you have 2 Lunalas, trade one for Solgaleo, boom, now you both have a Solgaleo and a Lunala, which means everyone benefits right there, and the best way of doing this is either having friends or going onto the global trade station. So in the GTS, you can pretty much search for the opposite Pokemon, and a lot of them will be able to trade. As you can see right here, this guy, he has a Lunala, he's looking for Solgaleo, and I can trade Solgaleo for Lunala, or you can look up Solgaleo and then trade a Lunala like that. Or you can also post a Solgaleo or Lunala for yourself. So what you need to do is go and then search the name of the other Pokemon. That if you have Moon version, you probably haven't seen Solgaleo, so you just like search it manually and then it will register like that. And I was able to do this with my Lunala and receive a Solgaleo that way. So that's pretty much the bulk of it right there. You will be able to receive both Solgaleo and Lunala with pretty much no hassle whatsoever when it comes to your Pokemon Sun or Moon version, since you do get 2 copies of the legendary. Now here's the thing, the requirements aren't really that difficult, that all you really need is an internet connection and then you can go onto the GTS for free unless you've done something to get yourself Wi-Fi banned, in which case you're probably PK hexing so you can get like 1,000,000 Solgaleo anyway or something like that. Or you can also collaborate with your friends, family, and see what happens. Anyone that has an opposite game, they're going to be wanting to trade with you as well, so it's going to be very easy to get another legendary and then you can go and trade back and forth. The only issue is if you don't have any friends or any internet connection, in which case you're just going to be the weird kid with 2 Lunala. To wrap up this video, I'm going to talk about some trivia involving the Pokemon that have been mentioned in this video so far. So Cosmog and Cosmoem are actually very interesting because as you might have noticed, when we register these Pokemon for the first time, they do not have a split evolutionary line. They do not have any connection to Solgaleo or Lunala, and this could actually have quite a lot of implications. It means that we can't Eviolite onto Cosmoem to get an insane amount of defenses because this Pokemon is very tanky, and also questions whether or not these Pokemon are actually legendary because they are separated like that and they do have an evolutionary line, which is something that legendary Pokemon don't have. We can even go on the Pokemon Sun and Moon website and we can see the listing for legendary Pokemon. It shows Solgaleo and Lunala, but they are also recognized as separate to Cosmog and Cosmoem. And then when we click on the Cosmog, we pretty much just get a little bit of an entry about how it's such a light Pokemon, that its gaseous body is so lightweight that it's sent flying when the wind blows. When light falls in this Pokemon, Cosmog absorbs it and it grows. So it kind of shows that when you're playing around with the story, it has its own interactions right there. But then it gets pretty crazy because as it goes into Cosmoem, it becomes the densest Pokemon ever, as well as the heaviest Pokemon of all time. Well, kind of. I don't really know what to make of this because we have Primal Groudon, the heaviest Pokemon with 999.7 kilograms, thus giving us 2,204.4 pounds. But at the same time, Cosmoem still technically weighs more, that it gets to 2204.4, but also weighs 999.9 kilograms. So this Pokemon is just dense, while also being the smallest Pokemon, is the heaviest, thus the most dense Pokemon, and it even makes Solgaleo look light by comparison at only 507.1 pounds. And then when we go and check out the Pokedex entry, it does make a little bit of sense. There's something accumulating around the black core within this hard shell. People think that this Pokemon may come from another world. So this is another worldly Pokemon, same with Cosmog, that we get to see that is the Pokedex entry as well. Pokemon is said to be from another world, but no specific details are known, and we do kind of learn about that since we can go into another dimension through the same kind of alternate space that brings us into the Ultra Beast and stuff. So Ultra Space into another world lets us go into Cosmog and Cosmoem, and there's obviously some kind of very dense core of matter that allows Cosmoem to exist and also be as heavy as it is. That's pretty crazy stuff right there. So all of these Pokemon are just crazy with their interactions and what it means. Is this Pokemon legendary? Is it not? It's interdimensional, and it also has really tanky stats. So 43 on the base hit points isn't a lot, but 131 on defense, 131 on the special defense pulls this Pokemon up into 400 on the stat total, and for some reason this Pokemon has special attack stats, even though it gets no competitive moves. So there was promise here, like if this Pokemon got toxic like everything else, but no TMs on this Pokemon, no breeding, no tutoring. The only thing that can happen is Splash via Cosmog in a previous evolution, but Cosmoem is just going to be really tanky, and even though it might not seem like a lot, it's tankier than Dusclops. And Dusclops is a very popular Eviolite Pokemon, which is why I did make that point earlier about how, sadly, Eviolite doesn't work with this Pokemon as though it got any moves. So just Coffin Power and Teleport right there, which doesn't make sense. Like, why are you going to give a Pokemon any offensive stats when it learns no offensive moves? I guess it works for, like, confusion and foul play, but this Pokemon is just useless competitively. Pretty much the best thing you can do with it is use it as a just massive tank Pokemon to sit on the field while you go and revive and full restore all of your Pokemon back to full health, and then use those guys instead. Now, a really interesting thing is that while this Pokemon's not usable competitively, it is needed competitively, because we can see right here, Solgaleo is not going to learn Splash. That gets Sunsteel Strike, Cosmic Power, Teleport, so it gets all the other ones, and if we scroll all the way down, we can confirm that Splash is the only move by a prior evolution for the Solgaleo that it can learn, which means Splash Solgaleo, new meta. And while it might sound like I'm saying something crazy that doesn't make any sense, Normalium Z, if you Z-move Splash, Splash will then boost your attack by 3 stages. So it's pretty much better than Solgaleo has for anything boosting wise. This Pokemon doesn't even get the Swords Dance, so you're pretty much stuck with the stats that you have unless you're going for like Cosmic Power and Calm Mind boosting. But if you're going for a special attack, then Lunala is going to be better, because Lunala has that 137 on the special attack. Now this isn't like a super crazy competitive guide, but it's kind of bringing everything about these legendary Pokemon together, because yeah, you can use your one and only Z move. That's pretty much the only caveat here, is that you have to use your one Z move on Splash, but now your Solgaleo's +3 on the attack. So you can pretty much full invest into hit points, maybe go with a Jolly Nature, and then try to make it work that way, and you're still going to be getting insane stats overall, and like 31 on the attack. So yeah, that's going to go up by 2.5 times throughout the physical moves, get the mad damage, and things are going to be good. And this is where the Cosmog thing actually helps even more, because you can soft reset the Cosmog back when you go get it in your game. So that's something that you might want to pay attention to, and you can also use that for trading as well. Get a timid Lunala, trade it for a jolly Solgaleo, or something like that, and fortunately you don't have to worry about the IVs because of hyper training in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Then it kind of works out that you can soft reset the Cosmog, evolve it into Lunala or Solgaleo, and if that's the one you want, good. If that's not the one you want, like I said, you can trade and barter like that, and then the stats will kind of come through. Overall, good stats on Solgaleo and Lunala. They can figure out what to do from there to make the most out of these Pokemon. So there you have it, guys. How to receive both legendaries, how to get Cosmog, Cosmoem, how to do all these crazy things that exist in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's honestly just crazy to take everything in, because we technically have access to both legendaries in the game, because like 2 Lunala or 2 Solgaleo is going to kind of be useless, but it also works competitively as well. That there's a fairly long cutscene after you get Solgaleo or Lunala, so if you soft reset for that, you're wasting Master Balls to try to catch them faster, you have to wait a lot of time just to find out you get the wrong nature. It doesn't really work out as well, but also it's different to Gold and Silver versions where you just get both Pokemon naturally. With this, it encourages communication. Pokemon has always had those game exclusives that, get friends, play with other people with Pokemon, engage in that connectivity right there, and then this takes it to a new level to actually exchange legendaries via that by going to an alternate world, which plays into the storyline of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Then you can hop on the GTS, and it's fairly hassle-free at that point. I think if you post it up, or if you do enough searching, you'll be able to get the Solgaleo or Lunala that you want, especially if this video does blow up and stuff. Share it with your friends, share Pokemon legendaries. It's all about the connectivity right now, so I think it still counts. And that is what I have to say about this. What a crazy game Pokemon Sun and Moon has turned out to be, and what a crazy way these features are playing out. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.